job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It is indeed a magnificent Monday. And the first Monday of each month is our monthly Mental Health Matters. So we invite you to be a part of our discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow, Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And it really is a pleasure to be able to have this discussion on a monthly basis as we remind you the importance of our mental health to our overall, wellness, and it's important. Thanks so much for our guests. And if they'd allow me to say a special thanks to Dr. Alexandra Borden for every month helping us to facilitate not just an important discussion, but to have such a wonderful, wonderful panel every month. So welcome, Dr. Borden. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for always having us on as well.
All right, join us as our colleague, Dr. Colleen Brown. Again, thank you so much for coming on board.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
And Ms. Shannon Seymour. Well, you haven't been in here as often as we would like, so maybe we'll change that going forward. Huh?
Sure, sounds good. Thank you for having me today.
All right. And as Dr. Borden, we set the schedule, sort of the outline for the year of the different shows we'll do each month, and I look forward to I get to learn. I get exposed and introduced to new words, techniques, terminologies. Mm-hmm. Almost thinking, if I took a course, I might actually get a certificate. But that's just,
come check me at UCCI, we'll talk.
But that means I have to go out to class. No, stay in school, kids.
Maybe you can get some credit.
No, but it's important. And I think what it does is it allows two things. One, the importance, as I look to my mother, she always embodies and encourages this notion of being a lifelong learner, just for your own edification, just for your own well-being, your health, but also improves your mental cognition, your ability to even have a conversation and listen and contribute at times. And I think too often we don't appreciate how significant it is to be, in such a position. This month's discussion, the importance of empathy. Well, in today's world, culture, diversity, and mental health. That sounds quite nice. It sounds like almost a dissertation. That could be my thesis.
Fair enough. It would be a great topic.
All right. Well, before we start, would it be, if you don't mind too much, I borrowed this from Mr. Jeff Schofield way back when he said, the guests on our shows, we just didn't find them in the parking lot running by. These are people who are legitimate and who have genuinely something, meaningful to contribute. Could I respectfully ask maybe just a quick intro and bio? Everybody probably knows who we are in the studio, but just in case, would that be okay?
Sure.
Ms. Shannon, could we start with you first of all?
Sure, absolutely. Shannon Seymour, I'm the director of the Wellness Center and have been involved in mental health and working with kids with special needs and families in our community for the past 22 years. We opened the Wellness Center about 15 years ago, and we serve a wide range of individuals in our community, children, family, adults, couples, individuals. I'm involved in lots of community things. I have a passion for this topic of diversity and community and empathy and diversity, and I think it's a great conversation. I'm super excited about it and hoping to make a contribution.
All right, thanks. And Dr. Warden, if you don't mind, it's
sure.
And the reason why I say is hopefully it encourages people to appreciate the wide skill sets, the various experiences and the vast experiences that we have right across the street, right in our own neighborhoods, in our own communities. So, Dr. Boyd?
I'd say wellness is actually pretty much across the street. So I'm Dr. Alexandra Bodden. I'm a clinical psychologist. I work at Encourse Cayman with Dr. Brown. I specialize in working with addictions and adult survivors of childhood abuse. And at Encourse, we offer therapy as well as psychological assessments for kids, teens, and adults. I also do equine-assisted psychotherapy, where I do therapy using horses. We also offer corporate trainings there, and I teach at UCCI as well. I teach psychology there.
You know, sometimes I think, okay, there's 24 hours in a day. Even if I was to break it down in how many seconds and call an Anglo remind us.
Fit it all in.
Yeah. How does she do what she do?
It's like magic. Boom.
Well, Alicia has Dr. Brown.
and great people to work with.
There you go.
Well, thank you. I'm Dr. Colleen Brown. I am newer to the island. I've been here since August of last year, moved from the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. Like Dr. Bodden said, I work at Encourse Cayman. I do therapy with children, adolescents primarily. I do work with adults as well, but more primarily children, adolescents. My area of focus is I've worked with kids with a number of different issues, but I have specialized training in trauma. And sexualized behaviors. But my other area of interest that I haven't been able to explore as readily in clinical sense is diversity. It's something that's been, I've been looking at for years through my education and looking at different cultural groups and things that we should be focusing on more in the psychological field in particular. So this is a very exciting topic for me today.
And we hear a lot about it, but we'll get into it for a second. Now we talk about empathy. The importance of empathy, and we're seeing it increasingly. Maybe everybody knows, but maybe a good place to start. When we say empathy, what do we mean by that? What is empathy?
So empathy is going to be being able to take someone else's perspective in the most basic sense, understand another person's feelings and thoughts and where they're coming from. And it's important to be able to have a genuine connection with other people as well, being able to connect with them. And I think it's important to realize empathy is going to be something that is a respectful communication as well. So it's not sympathy, which is where the word I often hear confused with, which is feeling sorry for someone. So it's going to be able to genuinely connect with others and understand their perspective.
So you had a shared experience with someone, you could relate to it. Is it that, or is it more than that?
I think it's that, as well as not necessarily being able to have a shared experience, but being able to put yourself in their shoes and imagine having the experience that they're having and thinking about how that must feel and what they might be going through and how you could respond to them in a way similar to how you'd want to be responded to. So it's that ability to kind of put yourself in their shoes and think or feel or imagine what they're going through and respond according to that information.
Sometimes too, we don't see the importance of understand that person's perspective. What is it that they may be feeling? Either we're just, in some respects, too hurried. Sometimes we just, shake it off, let's go, without appreciating that this thing, as simple as it may seem to us, is so significant. But even when it's significant, for whatever reason, we're not as respectful, not as empathetic.
I agree, and I think one of the things that's important to be empathic is to have that sensitivity to where people are coming from and maybe see how you're different from them or they're different from you. So you might be going through an experience, and I've had a similar situation, but that doesn't mean I know how you're feeling. That doesn't mean I know what you're going through. And sometimes I think to assume that we know is sort of the opposite of empathizing. Really, empathy means we remove all of our assumptions and we really just listen and we do our best to put ourselves in your shoes and to understand what you're going through.
Not necessarily to make it the sort of the discussion, but think about grief, for instance. Everybody grieves different. Everyone has experienced some sense of loss or know someone who has. But each one is different, and just because you're maybe recently, going through that, it could be 50 years ago, you still feel it. How do you relate? How do you be sensitive and respectful, empathetic? With that in mind, as we look at today's world, but equally in the Cayman context, with 1,000 different nationalities, people from all different walks of life, people in different sort of ages and stages of their lives. Is it more difficult for a society that isn't homogeneous like this one for people to be empathetic?
I feel like it really, I think it depends on how much contact an individual has with groups that are different than themselves. And I think it also depends on the human in particular of whether or not they want to take the time to figure out how people are different than themselves. The reason I say that is because people that are different than yourselves and trying to understand people can be very uncomfortable. Because it's something that maybe you don't know much about. So I think, because I come from a society that's extremely diverse. Philadelphia is an extremely diverse city. However, there are clusters of individuals who haven't taken the time to interact with people that are culturally different than themselves. And I think that that's an important consideration to make sure that you're having those situations when you can interact with other people different than yourselves, because it creates a better understanding of different people and what they could be going through.
Now, with that, as we look at the idea of the changes that are evolving in our society and the challenges at times, is there a particular sort of characteristic in some people that are a little bit more empathetic, and is empathy and being sensitive? You've got some people, he's such a sensitive child, for argument's sake. Those two things are first off. The second, is it the same, being sensitive and empathy? Miss Colleen? Or actually, Shannon? I was thinking to ask Miss Colleen.
That's a good question. I've never maybe thought about it that way. I do think that some people are more naturally empathic. Some people have a temperament or a perspective or a way of connecting with people that is just very intuitive and very natural. Other people may have to, like Colleen said, work harder at it. So be a bit more directive or a bit more intentional. I know sometimes people can be very sensitive, very attuned to the emotions or the needs of other people, and sometimes can take on those emotions. So we talk about people being overly empathic sometimes. I think as it relates to our society, it's changing rapidly. It's changed a lot in the last decade even, and I think it creates some wonderful opportunities if we take the time to cultivate them, but it can also pose some significant challenges if people aren't mindful and aware.
Mindful, that's the word we hear increasingly. When we come back, let's talk about this idea of empathy and diversity. Dr. Brown, maybe you can jump in there and give us a perspective. I mean, who knows, this could be your second or third PhD. 949-8037, 949-6990. Please join us after the break for our monthly Mental Health Matters.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say, yeah, I'm in a rush and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about. Because they on sale this month. Dial teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500, like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory-breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Support our port, support our tourism.
You know government's responsibility is to create an economic environment where Caymanian businesses can thrive. The cruise industry brings $200 million worth of revenue each year. The cruise berthing facility will protect and grow the cruise industry, providing entrepreneurial opportunities for Caymanians.
Looking forward, looking bright.
Learn more and spread the word.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Talk today. but I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Yeah, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks so much for joining us, and we invite you to call, share your thoughts. If you want, you can ask a question. You can pose, a query. Hey, you can be part of our discussion. This is our monthly Mental Health Matters. This month, we're talking about the importance of empathy in today's world. What's it? Culture, diversity, and mental health. Dr. Alexandra Borden, Ms. Shannon Seymour, and Dr. Colleen Brown. Miss Colleen, I keep looking at you and thinking somebody else. Give me a second, I'll get there. Oh my!
It's Monday.
For some reason, it's Monday, and I normally don't have a problem with Mondays. That song about Rena Days and Mondays usually get me down. I don't know. Only today, but maybe because I'm excited that Susan is back. I don't know. She's got me nervous. We should all probably stop a second and had a moment of silence to welcome Susan back.
Welcome back.
Thank you. See, now I feel better. But I was just thinking quickly during the break that this notion that Cayman is, to me, the best place in the world, but it could be so much better. And Ms. Shannon, you did reference just even not only after Evan, but even in the last decade, the significant changes that are taking place in our society. But those changes, there are opportunities, but they're probably challenges. We're seeing more and more sort of diversity in a sense. In everything, choice in the supermarkets, in the business opportunities that are there, and the interaction, social and otherwise. Take us somewhere, Dr. Brown.
Well, I think that in particular, me being the newest person here to Cayman, I think something that's important is and should be considered for other people is to think about. I'm constantly in probably almost every interaction I have in therapy or in workshops, things like that, asking people, is my perspective accurate to how you live? Because I am new to this country and I don't know all of the, I may think I know the cultural, background of the country. I've been visiting here for a long time, but I don't know everything. And even though I'm the person who has the doctorate piece of paper, it's important at the same time for me to get that background from those individuals as well, because that's just as important as what I'm doing. And any kind of intervention or knowledge or workshop I'm trying to get across is not going to help if I'm not considering their cultural belief systems. So therefore, that's something that I think I always try to make sure that I'm implementing at all times. And it is important because if I am not acknowledging something that is culturally important to another person, then I'm not going to connect with them and I'm not going to help.
I'd asked earlier, and if it was not appropriate, then certainly guide me out. But I was thinking sort of a conversation I had late last week. In some societies, and I used the word, being sort of homogeneous, or some say homogeneous, where everybody's almost the same. And you can think of some of the Nordic countries, you can see different parts of different countries. And you look and everybody had a shared experience. The population is almost the same age, everything going through. And then you look at the Cayman, and it's not so much that we utilize the term a melting pot, but it's changed. It's changing rapidly. There's so much happening. Does that, Ms. Shannon, from your perspective, make it easier, harder? Is it just, it's almost like a smorgasbord? Or what is it?
I think it's all of the above. And I think that's why conversations like this are really important, because it doesn't just, diversity can happen in terms of just influx of people coming to the island. The landscape has changed. The demographics of our country have changed. We saw the work permit data that came out from immigration last week, I think it was. And those things can all be great additions. They can add vibrancy and diversity. They can bring new flavors and new ideas and new creativity to the community. But it can create challenges. And in my work anyways, we're seeing some of the challenges in terms of the mental health care, the level of stress that people are experiencing, the level of isolation people are experiencing, some of the challenges of feeling pushed aside. And so I think diversity can be amazing, but it has to be be intentional with it. You have to be careful and you have to be mindful. I think we were talking about at the break in terms of how are we going to approach this. I think to just think that we can put 130 different countries in a community of 20 by 10 miles long and think that it's just going to be okay and it's gonna be positive is a bit naive if we're not all doing our part to really be thoughtful about it. Whether you run a business, whether you've got a family, whether you are a teacher, whether you're a business owner, whether you're a politician, it doesn't matter who you are, what your role is in our community. I think we have to all acknowledge the changes that are happening, and we all have to identify some role in how we can make sure that we're gonna let it be a positive thing and not a negative thing.
If I could then respectfully ask, you said mindful and intentional. We'll be very deliberate about what is happening in our society. And I was thinking, as you shared, this whole notion that maybe a couple of things. We look at our behaviors generally in the society. Let's start with the roads. Are we as courteous now, or are we very deliberately mean, as it were? I'm not letting you into traffic. Oh, no. And are we blowing our horns, which may seem, okay, that happens everywhere, and it seems, simple and not that serious. But what if it is? What if that little change has been that thing that annoys somebody?
Well, it's funny that you mention that because my son's just spent a year living in Portugal, and honking your horn here has always traditionally meant sort of you're giving somebody way or you're giving them a greeting on the road. Whereas in other cultures, it means something more aggressive, more of a complaint about your driving. And so even something as simple as giving, that's a great example actually of how if we don't understand what something means to somebody, we interpret it wrong, then we respond in a way that might not be appropriate.
I'm going to use what you just shared, right, and ask Dr. Brown a second, but my ears have said that it has changed, whereas before, it was a communication.
Yeah, you said hello to each other.
Yeah, I mean, a guy once just, one tap of the horn, and I understood right then and there that his wife had gave birth, his grandmother had travelled, and no, that's not true, Susan.
That's not far off, though.
But that has changed because it's now no longer just that. It's this other thing. There were just coming in earlier, and it was about 15 cars back from the light, and as the light changed, if the person had went in there earlier and they were in a drag racing, they would say they would have red lighted. They would have met before the light changed, so the person could not conceivably go in a quick, at least to my eyes. This car 15 cars back, I'm thinking, is that a semi truck coming down the freeway? What is the deal with that? So there's that. The flashing of the lights. It used to be, I'm going to let you out. Here, my flashlight, you come out. Now it's, I'm flashing my light because I'm telling you, you're going to give it to me. Yeah. Changes that are taking place. Now, not always bad, but could be a challenge. Dr. Brown, I'm going to ask you something else, but you jump right in if you want to.
No, the first thing that I was going to say is when I moved here, I did not know that the honking was actually a good thing. And I thought people were really upset by my driving style.
There was that too.
But over time, I was like, oh, they're telling me they're being nice. So that's actually, I mean, it's a small example, but it's an example of an acculturation type thing where, you have to get used to the culture you're in. And because I'm not from this culture originally, this is one little example of things that I've had to shift my perspective about thinking about. A more serious example of what we're talking about, what I wanted to bring up was called microaggressions, which is something that comes up throughout our society, which can be what can end up happening when you have an amalgamation of cultures coming together. So these are kind of like slight little tiny, maybe verbal or gestures or things like that somehow is degrading the individual. And it's not enough for somebody to go, wow, you're being a racist person, or you're being, very derogatory towards that person. But it's just a little snippet to make that person not feel as good. And I think that when cultures start to combine and different groups are together, those things can come out more often. And it's something that we have to pay attention to and realize this can be very harmful. All right.
We have a caller online. As we go to our phones, we invite the rest of you not only to listen, but to participate. 949-8037. 949-6990. Now, Dr. Warden, you need a headset. I hate to do this to your hair. I know you spent at least, not just kidding. For those who are joining us, it is our monthly Mental Health Matters, and we're talking, about empathy in today's World Culture, Diversity, and Mental Health. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and good afternoon to your panel. I just tuned in and I heard the young lady talking about, the numbers of people and a little island like this and stuff like that. So I wanted to say that, and I've said it to the leadership of this island way back when I came back from the States in 1986, and we were talking about growth and sustainable growth. Nobody seems to listen because every time you hear, you can do this, or you can make this much, you can get this money from doing this, or when people come in on work permits, that's a source of income for government, work permits. People come in here to call it tourists, to say we got plenty of tourists coming in. And I keep referring to the days back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even in the early 80s when we had we didn't let people build hotels because they bought a piece of land. We said, no, we don't need any more hotels now. That's what we should do. We don't need any more hotels. We don't need any more beauty parlors. We don't need any more different businesses here. We have to restrict the number of certain businesses when they get too much. What has happened now? We got everybody and his uncle is opening up a business, and most of them don't know anything about running a business. And then all of a sudden, you have all these people coming in, work permits and whatnot, to fill these positions.
Right. But if I could ask you, though, sorry to interject a second, but as we look at today's topic in terms of our mental health matters, this idea of empathy and this change and diversity, this progress that we're seeing in our society, whether it's the increasing population or the development, how does that relate to what we're seeing the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, or even a decade ago to what we're experiencing today? Your projection, is it going to get better? Does it have to get worse before it gets better? Will it always be on a downward slide? I mean, what is your thought?
It gets worse because I can tell you this, that there are people out there. Mental health is beginning to be a real problem in Cayman. Let me tell you this, when I see people that walking, that were what I consider intelligent people that had a good example, you see them. Mm-hmm. They walk the street up and down. These are people that had jobs, but something happened, and they don't have the job no more. And when they go to apply for a job, they get depressed because they can't find a job because you got expat workers who are doing their job now, and they bring them in, and some of the employers who enjoy bringing in people because they got a thing over their head that if you don't do this you have to go back, and they come from places. A lot of these people come from places they would never want to go back if they don't have to. So what I'm saying is everything works against when you got too much of anything. Sustainable growth meaning having enough.
Right. Well, I hear you, man.
Know that.
All right. I appreciate it very much. Can we take the next caller quickly? Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today. Hello, good afternoon. Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. All right. Well, 949-8037 or 949-6990. Susan takes care of our advertisers, so I call her when you're ready. We'll join you, but first, join us for this break. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
At Flow, we know that 4 are better than 1. Introducing Flow Quad Play. Packed with the fastest, most reliable broadband, the power and control of Flow Evo TV, Cayman's best mobile experience, and tons of home phone minutes, all in one convenient package from only $199 a month. With 4 plans to choose from, you're sure to find one that fits your needs. It's value, ease, and convenience all on one bill with Cayman's #1 network. Find out why 4 are better than 1 with Flow Quad Play at discoverflow.ky. Terms and conditions apply.
At Powerhouse Gym, where you feel like home in a multicultural energy environment for all. They are dedicated to helping you achieve your fitness goals. Whether you have decided to get in shape, train for a specific sport, boost your energy levels, or even look your best for a special day. With a variety of sports options, group fitness classes, CrossFit outdoor gym. They provide personal trainers and equipment. Powerhouse Gym, King Sports Center, offers a complete health and recreational environment for the only sports and recreational facility of its kind in the Cayman Islands. For more information, call 946-5464. Email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. Powerhouse Gym, King Sports Center. Serious results, period.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think Best Place to Work.
When dependability matters, think Outstanding Workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner, think Bank of the Year.
When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
Men, we need your help. We can't do it without you. Right now, here in Cayman, boys are struggling. They need a friend, someone to mentor and guide them. They need you. More than money, they need your time. Just 1 hour a week is all it takes. Big brothers and big sisters need men who are willing to help our boys between the ages of 6 and 16. Please join us for an information session on June 3rd or 17th at 12:30, 4 or 5:30 p.m. For more information, email info@bbbs.ky or call Tracy and Taylor on 326-0610. Men, we need you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today in the studio. It's our monthly Mental Health Matters, and we're talking whole issue about empathy in today's world, this idea of cultural diversity and mental health. Dr. Alexandra Borden, Dr. Colleen Brown, and Ms. Shannon Seymour are our guests. We did have a caller prior who had some excellent points. We'll get to him, but we do have another caller on the line. Why don't we go to the phones and thank our callers for joining us. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling Grant.
Good afternoon.
Yes, it's Dexter Borden.
Mr. Borden.
Thank you very much for taking my call. I just like to, and hello to all your guests on the panel. I would just like to make a comment and offer an opinion about the melting pot, I guess, concept that we have of Cayman. And the fact is that Cayman is not big enough to make a melting pot. It's a saucepan. You can't make a melting pot from a saucepan. And I note that they had a unity kind of meeting at the town hall last weekend. I didn't attend or anything, but I'm not even sure how that went. But as far as I'm concerned, that's all pretentiousness. That's pretending to unify. That's not real. And I guess that's all I wanted to say. You can't make a melting pot from a saucepan.
Sounds like a country song, man. Thank you very much, sir, and I always appreciate what you share. All right, that caller and the one prior, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think they both raise important. Points. That these are some of the challenges that I think we're currently facing, and diversity is wonderful, but it also presents challenges. And if those challenges we're not talking openly about those challenges, if we're not honest about those challenges around a table, and if we're not being sort of doing something intentionally, then it has potential to be really, really negative. And we're seeing that. We're seeing division. We're seeing hostility. We're seeing, like Dr. Brown was saying, those microaggressions, but not even microaggressions. I'm seeing overt, obvious aggressions towards different cultures, towards differences. I'm seeing of them and us we haven't seen as significant while I've been here 30 years. And so I think, and as we connect it to mental health, I certainly, in the work that I do, I see people feeling very pressured. I see people feeling very many people feeling marginalized or afraid, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. It's creating a lot of stress. Whether you're here and you're feeling like you don't belong here because people don't make you feel like you're welcome, or whether you've been here for generations and generations and you look around and you don't recognize your own country. So I think that no matter what side of the aisle you're on, this is a challenging time in the history of our country.
Well, and he mentioned the melting pot. I think actually we'd brought it up earlier. And they've actually stepped away from that idea in looking at acculturation, because the idea there is that everything blends together to make a new whole is the idea. But what they've decided is that that's not actually helpful. And I think that's where a lot of the difficulties and a lot of the discomfort that Dr. Brown alluded to comes, thinking that we, especially as Caymanians, are going to be losing our country to these people coming in. Instead of looking at a melting pot, what they've looked at is instead looking at it as more of a salad bowl, where each ingredient brings something new to the table, but they all maintain their own integrity. So together, it's more than the sum of the parts, but each part is still important. And I think that is the biggest part for me in looking at diversity, is that, yes, heterogeneous communities are a lot more uncomfortable. They're more characteristic of modern societies. Major issues with communication and understanding other people, because it takes more work to think about where they're coming from. And it's not as comfortable because our assumptions that we use to navigate social situations we don't normally have to think about, we now have to consciously think about. And so while there's a lot of strengths that come from heterogeneous communities with new cultures, new problem-solving things, new innovation, new creativity, there are these daily stressors that we're then having to deal with. And I think that that's the hard part, is seeing how we can maintain our Caymanianness, or whatever it is, whether we're looking at differences between sex, between ages, between races, how it's okay for us to be us and for them to be them, and respecting both, that even though they're different, they're both good enough and they're both okay. And I think that that's the hard part, is that is understanding how this can be right, but that can also be right. And that's where I see a lot of it. I know we've had a lot of shows looking at even things like LGBT and understanding that, and how does that work, and if there's lifestyle choices, even other lifestyle choices that people make that go against our values, how can it be okay for us to still coexist with them as well? And it is a lot to consciously think about, and things that we maybe didn't have to think about in past times. I moved to America, and I learned a lot. And I moved to different parts of America, and every time it's something new. It is different when it is imposed on you, because Cayman has grown in leaps and bounds, right? And every time we get this influx of immigration, we enter what they call a state of anomie, right? Which is like a state of normalness, where we now have all these new situations coming up. We talked about Ivan, that kind of, the island was wiped out and we had to rebuild, and we have to figure out what our new normal is going to be. And it does take being intentional, being able to tolerate discomfort, and figuring out how that's going to work.
With that, then, as you were sharing, and I asked earlier the characteristics. There are certain things about some of us that cause us to respond in a certain way. Like, I like variety. What's the variety? It's the spice of life. Scripture talks, no man should live by bread alone. For some of us, we like the same old same. We like it to be the same way. It's always the same. We don't want to change. We don't want it. We want to sit in the same spot when we go to church or to the cinema or to the restaurant. We want to be in the same spot. Some of us, we're like, hey, today I'm going to sit by the window. Tomorrow I'm going to sit in the back booth. We want to be in different perspectives because we experience. For me, Cayman is beautiful in that sense, that I get to meet people not just from the U.S., but from every state and sometimes many counties from different parts of the world. Different languages. I want to wish I was smart enough to be able to speak them all. Others, oh man, this is just too much.
Yeah.
What?
And I think that goes back to at the end of the day, we all can only start with ourselves as individuals.
Okay.
And we're individuals first, then we're parts of families, then we're parts of communities, and we're part of a culture, and then we're part of a country, and we're part of a world, right? And so we're all connected, but at different levels. And I think the important thing is that we start as individuals. So, what is my role in this new normal that we're trying to create here? What do I bring to this community? How can I be sensitive and helpful? I'm originally from Canada, and my parents were Dutch immigrants into Canada. So I took my Caymanian husband back to Canada, where he was an immigrant, and went through that whole process. And so we've lived sort of this cross-cultural life for many years. And I remember when I was first moving here, my mom said to me, "You're going to be a guest, come and make the country, make a positive contribution. Don't be critical. Offer to help. And that was a message I certainly came here with, and it's certainly when I've sent my children out to live in the UK or Portugal or the US, that's the message I've sent them with. And I think so as an individual, that's where we start.
You talked really about them and us, and I was looking at that just quickly, and many times we hear that we're thinking them being them, us being us, right? Caymanians and foreigners, but there are foreign nationals here who say, they're coming here and taking over, they're destroying this. I'm thinking, but wait a minute, they share this, them and us is the notion that we want to protect and preserve and promote this great thing that's so attractive. How is it that we're not able to all buy in? Is it that we lack this ownership, the sense of vested interest, and the safety, the security, the stability, this quality of life that we have? I'm sure many of us listening can think of just our circle of friends, and they're from everywhere in the world, and we have similar views, even though we're very different. We love this country. We want it to be this great thing that we knew it was and know it could be. But yet it's changing because of them. Or look at how they're living in the place, how they're... Dr. Brown?
Well, it's easy. I mean, when there's a group that you don't know that much about, it's easy to lump them into a category. Okay. And I think what's important is, we see this in U.S. politics right now, for example. I feel comfortable talking about U.S. politics because I'm American. We see the Trump supporters and we see the liberal people. And when things are brought up on the news, you hear, well, that's because it's Trump or that's because it's liberal. And you hear these very general terms. But you're not really looking at the individual and what they've been through. Some of the ways that I've actually learned the most in my life have been having friends and loved ones and having experiences when I've put myself in a situation that I almost realized in a way what the individual must feel like. For example, one individual that I knew came to visit my hometown, which was predominantly white. I didn't realize how uncomfortable this person was. They were African. I didn't realize how uncomfortable this person was until I was riding in a subway train in the Bronx and I was the only white person on the train. And then I thought, I just made that person experience that feeling for an entire weekend. And I felt it for a half hour and I was jumping out of my skin. Right? And realizing that you may have some of the same feelings as that other person. It doesn't have to be such a divide. Experience what the other person experiences and try to have the empathy, try to have their point of view, and understand that just because, I have a quote underneath me right now that I wanted to make sure I said, privilege is when you think something is not a problem because it's not a problem to you personally. And that's something to consider. Just because there's something that's not individually a problem to me doesn't mean that there isn't a problem.
Right.
And I have to make sure that I'm open to hearing what somebody else's experiences are.
Okay, after the break, let's talk about that, because I think that's one of the beautiful things about Cayman, is the Cayman that I know and want to see. Those experiences, we would travel and we never saw, we lived in a community where color wasn't that important. People did not sort of divide themselves because of something as that. But it's changing increasingly. So how do we make it better, safer, stronger? No, it's not my political campaign, Steve. It's not. It isn't, is it? It's Susan's first. 949-37. When we come back, more talk today.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Six dead sharks have been found in local waters since February, despite warnings from the Department of Environment that killing the apex predator in Cayman is a criminal offense. In April, it was revealed that 4 sharks have been found dead between February and April of this year. Today, the DOE told its Facebook followers that 2 more were recovered in May. The DOE says sharks are protected at all times under Cayman's national conservation law, as they are, quote, crucial to the local reef system. In news elsewhere, Mexico launched a counteroffensive Monday against the threat of U.S. tariffs, warning not only that it would hurt the economies of both countries, but also could cause 250,000 more Central Americans to migrate north. A high-level delegation from the Mexican government held a press conference at the embassy in Washington, making the case against the threat by U.S. President Donald Trump of imposing a 5% tariff on Mexican imports by June 10th. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump's long-awaited state visit to the United Kingdom on Monday launched with an inspection of trooping guards with bearskin hats, guns blasting at the Tower of London, and a spot of afternoon tea. The elaborate displays of hospitality did little to prevent Trump from dispatching insults over Twitter as he descended into London. It was an appropriate start to a visit laced with controversy and steeped in tradition, delivered by a fraction nation for a hard-to-please guest. Kevin Spacey made an unexpected appearance Monday at a Massachusetts courthouse where his attorney demanded access to the cell phone of the young man who has accused the actor of groping him at a bar on the resort island of Nantucket in 2016. Spacey's attorney Alan Jackson called the case against Spacey ridiculous and accused prosecutors of withholding information from the defense. Jackson urged the judge to set a trial date as soon as possible, saying the former House of Cards star is suffering without a resolution to the case. The judge said the earliest the trial will happen is the fall. Those are your latest updates here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
Wonderful.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. It is our monthly Mental Health Matters, and I'm really, really grateful to all of our guests every month, but in particular, this segment, because it challenges sometimes our thought process, but hopefully in a way, in a respectful way, it causes us to at least start to recognize the importance of mental health to our overall health and well-being. I say it, and I haven't done it yet, but how many of us have put our financial affairs in order, have looked at our wills, have done, that planning for retirement, for even if our children haven't, come into the world as yet. Are we planning for them? Some of us have, some of us haven't. We keep putting it off. Well, hopefully we're talking to our physician and our personal trainers and our dietitians, but maybe we're not. Maybe we're talking to our spiritual advisors. Chances are we're doing those things much more readily, or at least considering them, than we are talking to our mental health counselors and advisors. So this month's discussion, the notion of empathy in today's world, and given that there's a lot of diversity in this culture, and how was that interplaying with our overall mental health. Very grateful to Dr. Alexandra Wood and Dr. Colleen Brown and Ms. Shannon Seymour for helping us. The discussion prior to the break, Ms. Shannon?
That was a good discussion. I think what strikes me is that change is always a bit of an upsetting time, right? Whether you change jobs or you change homes, your health status changes, your children go off to college, and your household changes. So any kind of change is always, met with a bit of uncertainty. You got to find your bearings. Like Dr. Bodden was saying, it's kind of like creating this new normal or new sense of stability. And I think we're in a period of change right now. So there's a lot of people that are feeling uncertain in that change. And I think if we acknowledge that, it can be something that we can all get through together. But if we blame people for that change and that uncomfortable feeling or that tension or that uncertainty, or we start to say that this is because of, or if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be feeling this. Those are some of the dangerous pathways, I think, that we are finding ourselves down these days.
But with that in mind, then, that change, and I'll ask you for guidance, looking at a couple of things. The individual who's come here from elsewhere, maybe, and I think of a good friend, and I say this, he came from a very cold climate. He came in one late November, early December, and it was cold. And he was swimming out there and this is so warm. And just the other day, we had a little cold snap, and he was, oh man, this thing is freezing. In a very short period of time, he has found that, he complains when it's no longer July and September, the water is too cold. But yet he was swimming, maybe not in Thunder Bay, but so he has changed and adapted. Mm-hmm. But maybe that change allowed the sunshine, the new opportunities, the new friends, better for the people who are here. Mm-hmm. And they're being displaced. What's the experiment we did in school? We had a beaker and we poured the thing in. At some point in time, we see it being displaced. Mm-hmm. So people coming in could be displacing others, and they're not managing the change. They're not being able to embrace it. They're not being able to say, but they have a say in it. Could create some disquiet and some discomfort.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's where some planning, systemically is also important, because it is a small country. And I know that, I think government is trying to get their head around how to manage this and how to deal with this, because they want, obviously, some of it to be more natural. But I know in the past there has been more regulations on who comes from where and how best to keep Caymanian interests protected, while also bringing in the influences that are so important from other places as well. Mm. But I think that is the fear. And a lot of the difficulties that come up between groups, whatever they are, whether it's between generations, between sexes, between races, between immigration status, is fear and lack of knowledge. And while it's hard to get to know someone else, like Dr. Brown was saying, and, or Mashana was saying about, experiencing new cultures, it's important to get some information and see. I do think it's important to understand their perspective and what they're going through, and to get information, but also to hear from them. And that was one of the things I wanted to say, is that, you talked about that shared experience at the beginning. And just because two people are from the same country or have the same background, it's important to understand what it means to them. A lot of times as a therapist, I get the question, because I do a lot of work with addictions, have you ever been an addict? To be honest, I have not. But I also do a lot of work with trauma. I also work with people with severe mental illness. And although I cannot directly relate to that experience, I've told clients, even if I had a very similar experience, it's still going to be different. I want to know what that's like for you. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's an important part as well, is to kind of push through some of the discomfort, get information. It's okay to go look stuff up first. Like when we get new clients coming in from new places, or as I meet new people, I might look up and see what it's like to be from their country, or what some of their traditions are, or I'll ask them, what's important to you. Because we even know in Cayman, someone who's from West Bay is a lot different than a person from East End. Just because we're Caymanian doesn't mean we're the same. And so it's really important to get to know each person as a person. And I think that's the biggest part for me about empathy and diversity, is that it doesn't take us having the exact same background or the exact same experience. We all went through Ivan and experienced it differently. And that's one of my favorite examples. Just because we've been through the same thing doesn't mean it's the same. Yeah. And it's important to know what it's like for that person.
And I think for me, I straddled the two lines here, right? So I came originally as somebody who was a visitor to this country. And I came on holiday, and I came for work, and I came to enjoy all the lovely things that it offers. And then I stayed and fell in love with it, and was grateful that it could become my own. And so I think that there is some responsibility on both ends. One, I do think when you are coming into a new place, wherever that is, that you have to come with a respect and a sense of gratitude, and you have to come with an intentional desire to understand where you are. And I think that used to be automatic back in the day because the numbers were different. And so you could come and you kind of couldn't get away from being integrated into Caymanian culture. So you had people that you were working with and the people that your kids were in school with and the community, whereas I think now it's easy to stay quite isolated and to yourself. And so you have to be very intentional about, what do I want to do in terms of my time here, whether it's 1 year, whether it's 10 years, whether I hope for me to be forever. So what am I going to do to be able to make sure that my contributions are felt, that the ideas and the innovation and the services and the expertise that I'm bringing are valued, but at the same time, how am I valuing what has come before me? How am I valuing this community that I've come into? And it's like if I go to visit somebody, if I come to your house, I want to come and I want to get to know you, and I want to be grateful for you hosting me. And I see that shifting. I really do. I see that shifting. And I think that makes people less welcoming. And so I think those are things that I'm certainly seeing just in my, the people that I interact with, and certainly in the work that I do. Those are some of the concerns that people are raising.
Right. So two things then. Could it be, to your latter point, this notion that in this society we no longer seem to have a shared vision as to what the country and the society should be like? So we don't value the same things. We don't seem to like security and safety, stability, quality of life, the ability to walk the beach without being kidnapped or mauled by a dog or step in, poop or whatever. The things that were common and expected and just accepted, but now they're an effort. We used to say Cayman was one of the cleanest places in the world. Now we're concerned about trash, not just at the landfill, but in the parking lots. Little things like that. And then I'll ask the second point after, but Ms. Susan reminds us we have some callers. Thank you so much for joining us. As we go to our phones, we have Dr. Colleen Brown, Dr. Alexandra Borden, and Ms. Shannon Seymour as our guests. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling. Dean.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Just fine. Good afternoon, your illustrious, very knowledgeable panel there. Just want to say that it is high time that people recognize that, like, mental illness, it's an illness just like a physiological thing. Like any other illness. It just needs to be treated different way. It's not something that's physically, visible at all times. You can see people walk in the streets. They're a little bit what we call two shades, or two bricks of a full load or so. But that's what we see. Frivolously. But all of us have some sort of mental problem. Begin with, it's more expressed in certain others than others, and they become serious, we know. What we have to understand is what Mr. Borden said, something important here. We are too small to be a melting pot. And 430 different nationalities. He's absolutely right with that. We have no sort of place to use as an example, no country. We keep talking about other countries, and we know where the folks are from, as one of the learned doctor said there. America is a huge place. I lived there for 12 years, nearly 13 years, and I realized it's a gigantic place. Each state, each county is a little different, but it's more or less woven around the same idea and culture. But you do have the indigenous people who have rightfully been given special privileges. I'm talking about the Red Indians, but I won't go into that, take up time. Special privileges, we know that they have that. And rightly so, for a long time in coming. But,
yes, sir. Yeah, hello?
And more, our population from the time Mr. Ackerman and even Mr. Brown was talking of, but I know both of us, Mr. Ackerman and myself, are a little bit older than him, but he can remember that time. It's a very different time, and we have to be realistic. We can't go back to it. It will not happen. We asked for this when we said all we wanted here were wealthy investors, that money would flow into the islands. Since we have no mines, we have no sugarcane estates and so forth, no bauxite mines or whatever, no oil like Trinidad and so forth. And bauxite like Jamaica, and a huge sugar industry and the coffee industry and the banana industry there and cocoa and different things and fabric manufacturing. We don't have that. So we thought bringing in a lot of big investors, they buy up the land along West Bay Beach, build hotels and 10 stores and so forth, 3, then 5, then 10. And it'll go on to be more.
Yes, sir.
We know that. But this thing, we have to be realistic. It has changed us. And for us to say we're going to accept that we can put 130 cultures and mix it up and get one out of it, or people, that's not going to happen. I'm a realist. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We have to be realistic and understand them. And I think one of the ladies are saying, we are going to have to accommodate and accept it. there are going to be some serious changes. We know we have to make some serious decisions. To keep the Caymanian culture, I'm talking about generational Caymanians, which are the minority, going and have to understand that we cannot go back to those days. It will not happen. Won't fit in. 4 times quadruple the population. No other country has done that in 40 years. So it makes, we have no one to use as an example. So we just have to go on and try and fit in things. We can't talk about planned this and planning sustainable, things. And so we have to change daily almost because of the structure of what has happened to us. We're just trying to accept it.
Yes,
and
sir.
we have to be realistic. It's not going to happen. We are going to have 130 people living together in perfect harmony. It cannot happen, and it won't happen. So we're going to have to adjust and try to say to people that we have to be the predominant culture. For them to accept that and for us to accept that might be difficult. For us to carry that forward might be difficult. We have the British government to contend with their colony. It doesn't just go as if we can decide those things ourselves. We're governed by and run within certain parameters. It's a very, very difficult thing. We have a road ahead of us.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And now, as we get ready to respond to, we do have one other caller. Let's read that one first. Good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today. Hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
How are you today?
Well, I'm listening to your conversation there, and it's very interesting. I think a lot of what plays into this whole concept here is that we know, the only thing we know is that we don't know what we don't know. And what we don't know is what precepts or concepts the folks who come ashore here have between their ears. And I don't believe that we have done enough in the educational realm to really let the people who come here know what Cayman culture is. And maybe it's time that that process or that element be included in this whole work permit process. A comprehensive, quick picture of what Cayman culture is. And, you know, as one of your guests basically said, that you go to another man country, you have to have some respect for their perspective on their way of life and what transpires within the community. And maybe we as Caymanians are not doing enough to make sure that that is in this whole process that we have of people coming here. So I would like what is your panel, I mean, how do they feel about that element?
I think he raises a great point. My personal experience when I arrived here, I met some amazing people. My first job here was with Rena Jefferson, who made sure that I understood Cayman culture loud and clear, and also with Daphne Arette. And so I had the opportunity week after week to watch her, the Suki and Ezekiel show. And so I think for me, it was this like amazing immersion into this amazing culture. And I agree with him. I think some of that's changed a lot. And so it is hard, I think, for people coming now to really understand what is this Caymanian culture? What does it mean to be Caymanian? It's changed so much. So I do think that's a valid point. And I think it's, again, it's back to the individual level. What can I do if my neighbor is new? What can I do to help them understand the amazing, wonderful things about this country? And if I am the new neighbor, what can I do to make sure that I'm seeking out that information?
But with respect to that too, and it's not only the idea of people coming to countries, but even as you literally move into a neighborhood, someone moves in next door, are they coming in to be a good neighbor and trying to welcome themselves into the neighborhood? Are you, as the established neighbors, offering a welcome? How is that received? The person may have a dog, for instance, and is it a little yapper that always making noise and they keep it under control? It could be this beautiful bird, but it's constantly, little things that, or they may have a mindset about how the neighborhood should look because where they're from in South Africa or in, I don't know, Norway, this is what they want. Everybody comes over Fridays and sings Kumbaya, or Monday morning they set a bonfire, whatever that is. Are they imposing that thing because that's what they used to? Ms. Brown?
Well, first off, from what the caller said, I agree. I came here not long ago. I'm very lucky to be working and be friends with Dr. Bodden, who has, because she is Caymanian, has informed me a lot about the culture. But, I mean, I also probably went online, read every website I could find, read through all these different books, things like that, trying to learn. I actually sat there and read, all of the education law and everything because I didn't feel like I knew enough about this culture when I was moving here. But this is my area of interest. Would everybody do that? I don't know. So I think that what the caller said is very warranted, and I think that's a great idea. I think that there does need to be, even on a societal or community level, what you're talking about. For example, you talked about, neighbors moving in, things like that. For example, when you were saying that, I was chuckling because in my perspective, I would never go introduce myself to a neighbor. That's my culture. Mm-hmm. I lived in New York City. I lived in Philadelphia. No, you don't do that.
Heads down.
Heads down, ignore. But I've realized that my culture is not here. So I do think that it is part of me to seek that out, to find out what the culture is where I am. And it's part of also, the people in the culture to explain to me, this is how we do things, so that I kind of get a perspective. Oh, well, maybe I'm being seen as rude by not going and knocking on my neighbor's door, when in actuality, I think I'm doing exactly what I should be doing. Right.
All right. The caller is still there, Ms. Susan reminds me. I do apologize. I didn't realize. Sir, you're still there, right?
Okay, well.
Yes, sir.
Is there room that more should be done from an official standpoint of making sure these folks are aware of what is Cayman culture and what it consists of?
Mm-hmm. But if I may ask, though, even and Dr. Brown shared, I understand that you live in New York or those big cities, whether it's London, otherwise, you probably will not, out of safety reasons, best because of experience or practice, go and introduce yourself. In the Cayman context, the neighbor comes in, it's a new neighbor, you're the established neighbor, you'd probably go over, carry a piece of pie, a cassava cake, and introduce you. What increasingly, unfortunately, has been relayed to me that has transpired, you go over and, hey, welcome, Johnny, good to, your family, anything you need. Two things happen. The person looks at you in a way that, what are you doing here in your space, trying to poison us, or that has been, not always, but increasingly, Ms. Shannon, that has changed, right?
It has changed. It has. Yeah. And I think, again, there's some, Dr. Bodden talked about the generational. We hear from some of our elders in the community longing for that and missing that. We see our young people going away to university, coming back with ideas and changing belief systems, and we see that creating some even just internal challenges, right? So I think this sort of state of change is one that is inevitable and we can't get away from it. It's constant, and it's how do we respond to it? And I think we can have governmental policies. I don't, that's not the world. I'm not in politics, but I try to focus on what I can do as an individual. What can I do within my family, my community, my business place? And so I think if we all have a place to start, we can't just say, well, government should be doing this or government should be doing that. But what can we all do as individual residents here, whether you're a citizen, whether you're on as a resident here, we can all do something to be mindful of this, to be aware of our own biases, to challenge our biases if we have them, to seek out information, to learn about our neighbors. I think all of that can go a far way to kind of reducing some of the stress. And that's really the connection to mental health that I see. I see people experiencing a great deal of stress in their life right now, some of it rooted in fear, uncertainty. And I think that's where we all need to be kind of focused on what we can do as individuals. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing. Anything else you want to? Okay.
Well, I think that, you know, the buck has to stop somewhere, and you can't just let it float out like a bogwood buoy and try to find its own level, its own water level. At somewhere along the line, you know, we're going to be drowned. Right. So there has to be some initiative to address it.
Yes, and I agree. I think that it is actually quite difficult to find information about Cayman and Caymanian culture, especially things written by Caymanians or things that are written without a specific bias. There are several books that capture our history pretty well, but, you know, even preparing for some of the shows I have on the radio, a lot of the information is anecdotal or comes from one study that was done a few years ago, which I actually emailed out again today. You guys would have gotten that Bajo study again. And so I think that it's important as Caymanians that we do document the culture. I do think we have to be open to the idea that while we maintain traditions, we have to embrace the new things that are coming as well. Change is actually a sign of a healthy society. And I think it's important that we do empower Caymanians so we are able to compete on the international level, which is what Cayman is now. I teach at UCCI. I think education is really important, and I do everything I can to connect young Caymanians with opportunities, because I feel like a lot of Caymanians feel like we're not good enough, that we aren't able to do the things that people with an American education can do. And I know I said America, but a lot of places, but a lot of times that's what I hear. And I feel like Caymanians, I work at UCCI, I get a lot of times it's just a degree from UCCI, and that's not the case. I think it's important that we realize, well, UCCI has gotten a lot of accreditations in the last few years. UCCI is coming up, but we also have ICCI. There's lots of opportunities here, and Caymanians are as good as other people. Caymanians understand Cayman better than anyone else, and it's really important that we take active steps to maintain our culture, that we continue to evolve the Caymanian identity. At UCCI, we've taken strides to try to document it and understand the Caymanian identity. Where do Caymanians come from? We have such a mixed heritage with so many influences from all over the world. We are a very unique people. We are a very small population, and I think it's really important that all of us realize how special we are and how much we bring to the world. You know, all these people are coming here for what Cayman has to offer, which is based around our people.
Exactly. I think that's a great point. And I don't think it's one that we hear enough, or we say loud enough, or we speak into our young children. They need to hear that they're valuable, they're important, they're amazing, they have tremendous potential, and they come from a history of hard work and perseverance. And the reason that this country is so sought after, the reason that we have the influx in investment and population, is because of what the forefathers and foremothers have done in terms of building this as an amazing place to be.
Yeah.
It's for us.
If I may do a shout out to Wellness Center, who provides lots of education and support to young Caymanians. Ms. Shannon, in particular, has done huge amounts to support young Caymanians, especially in the field of mental health.
I really appreciate this discussion today, especially, but always every month. And thank you all very much. How quickly the time has passed, huh? And in the closing, one listener had messaged a couple of things. If I could just quickly read some of the messages that were sent through. Say, would the panel agree that there are not enough mental health professionals to cover the Cayman Islands? Do we think we have enough mental health professionals here?
In Cayman?
In Cayman.
Okay, so Dr. Brown actually did a paper on this a few years ago that was also circulated today and I'll put on our website. Yeah. We actually have a lot more mental health professionals per capita than most other Caribbean countries. So there are a lot of people here, although I would agree that I think we all have wait lists. We could always use more, but I think the breadth of services is where Cayman falls down, that we're missing some really key parts, like an adolescent crisis unit, which is in the works with Alex Panton Foundation, a long-term mental health facility you guys have heard Dr. Lockhart talk about, as well as a stronger IOP program, a step-down program from facilities to outpatient.
And one of the things I think we have to do that I'm really focused on is making sure that we are building that infrastructure of mental health care from our own people. And so I'm very committed to providing employment opportunities and training and facilitating that, because I think at the end of the day, if we can get young Caymanians invested and committed to the field of mental health, then we're going to be in a better position. Then we're going to be able to meet the needs that are out there. And I think it's one thing we do it with our accountants and our lawyers. We could provide great training opportunities and articling positions and internships, but we've not done it very well for our young mental health professionals. And I get a lot of calls and visits from people coming back with degrees and they can't get work because they don't have experience, but they can't get the experience because nobody sees them as valuable. Nobody wants to invest in them. And it's an investment. It takes time. It takes money. It can be stressful, but they're worth it if we look at what Dr. Bodden said, that we have to make sure that our young Caymanian people know their value. We have to treat them like they're valuable.
I mean, this last comment from this listener says, says it's distressing to me that there are not enough mental health professionals hired for the schools, government schools. The mental health student is suffering, they cause their classmates to suffer, and as for the teachers, I don't know how they can face the same trauma every day. So in the school system, the prisons as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that statement full-heartedly.
But thank you all very much, and really appreciate you taking time out of your day and coming in. As the callers and listeners are recognizing, having this discussion about our mental health is crucial. It's their safety and stability and security, but it's also for our health. So thanks, Shannon, Dr. Bodden, Dr. Brown.
Yeah, thank you for having us on every month. So again, we represent here on Course Cayman and Wellness Center. There is free services available if anyone's interested in therapy but doesn't have insurance that will cover it. Government provides it through the Counseling Center, which is available at 949-8789. In any case of emergency, whether suicide or mental health crisis, call 911 or go to the Georgetown Hospital A&E. They're always available, and there's a hotline as well run through the Crisis Center, which can take crisis calls at 943-2422.
Thank you all very much, man. It's so important. And enjoy the rest of your week. Let it be productive, but also very, a very relaxing one as well, if you can.
Thanks, you.
Thank you.
Join us after the break. When we come back, more Talk Today.
It's time to stop giving dads tools and ties for Father's Day. Dads want to relax just as much as you. Get the ultimate chillaxing beach kit for Father's Day at Savannah Pharmacy. Beach shorts, shirts, flip-flops, water shoes, goggles, towels, and sunblock. Let Dad kick back and relax this Father's Day. Gift baskets, including domino sets, coffee mugs, and so much more, are also available. Get all of your Father's Day purchases at Savannah Pharmacy and Countryside Shopping Village, or call 946-3336.
I love my daddy, yes sirree.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaner.
Puritan Cleaners now using the most popular and eco-friendly cleaning solvents. 3 convenient locations to serve you: Savannah, Countryside, Elgin Avenue, Georgetown, Eastern Avenue, Georgetown. Drive through rain or shine. Free pickup and delivery. Call Puritan Cleaners at 949-7104. You feel good when you look good.
Stay tuned.
Don't forget to tune in Monday through Friday for Radio Cayman's local evening sports report during the 6 p.m. news hour.
Taking a look at Radio Cayman's local sports, I'm Dion Anglin.
It is proudly brought to you by King Sports Center, providing your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore. Seaboard.
Did you know the Port Authority will continue to operate the cargo port and berthing facility when the piers are built? Cruise Line Finance secures berthing rights, not ownership, and will be repaid over time with fees paid by passengers.
Looking forward, looking bright.
Learn more and spread the word.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. It is open line, 949 8037 949 6990. And I want you to join us, be a part of a discussion. And as we go forward, I want to say again a very special thanks not only to our panelists each month for our monthly mental health matters, but for Dr. Alexandra Borden for putting together our discussions, but for you listening and contributing and participating and recognizing how important it is for us to be actively engaged in our health, in our mental health, a strong, focused mind, a disciplined, determined psyche, a people who are empathetic, who are concerned about each other, who are actively engaged with our, wealth and health and well-being and the like. Not just the financial and material. Those things, they're important, but they're not that important. What is it the scripture tells us about, How should it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? And put it simply, how many of us are reminded that you can't take it with you? So we want to be able to leave a wonderful legacy, and while we're here, to be able to enjoy it, and for people to not have to strain, at our final sort of going away service to find good things to say. Not, at all. So share with me what's on your mind. 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can call us toll free at 1-800-534-8255 and share your thoughts with us as we look forward to having you, make your contributions. We go to our phones. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Yeah, doing good afternoon again.
Welcome back again, sir. Thank you so much for listening and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Yeah, well, the thing is that when you hear me talk about sustainable growth and stuff like that, that's what, when we find ourselves losing culture and cultural things that we, years ago we could maintain it because we had mostly people who didn't have to be Caymanians, but I'll give you a good example. Back in the 1950s and 60s, when we had some people from England, some people from Jamaica, some people from Honduras, some people from the United States and places like that came down there. We had, a few from all these countries, and they came here, but we didn't have an influx of people coming from any country. And that gave us a chance to adopt. In other words, the people who came here were familiar. They became familiar with the cultural norms of Cayman, and they became a part of it. So we maintain the culture. But when you have growth that is not sustainable, meaning that things are going too fast, we have people. I'll give you a good example, simple example, but a good example. I see some stuff out there now, they call it Cayman style beef. It's like shredded meat or something. Now, when I go to Miss Vivian's up in East End, I got Cayman style beef. The stuff that you see being sold as Cayman style beef is a thing that happened in different parts of Latin America, but I know Puerto Rico for certain. They call it in Spanish is ropa viejo, and it means that it looks like old rope. But now that's what's become Cayman style beef. People would say that's Cayman style. It's not. It's something that was imported. You see, what I'm trying to say is this, that when you have sustainable growth, we grow gradually until where people who are gradually coming in can adjust to the cultural norms of this island. It's not happening anymore. Look at the Barbano thing there. We got stuff going on there now that is definitely not Cayman. Cayman did never, went for that kind of stuff that I see. They have naked people without. It's just disgusting, some of it. But it's what's happening here, and because these things happen more often than not now, we have lost our culture. Cayman used to have there was a time in Cayman, like I said, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, where Caymanians, you'd be driving down the road, somebody saw you walking, you would stop and pick him up, and they didn't have to ask whether you were Caymanian or who he was, because that was the norm. People did that with it. Now, when you try to have somebody, they say, oh no, I wait on somebody to pick me up or something. I mean, it's not that it's wrong, but I'm saying that because we've grown so fast, look at the numbers of people from different countries. I'll venture to say that the government has no idea exactly how many people there are in the Cayman Islands. They might say they got some on, a certain number on work permits and stuff like that. But people come in here daily from different places on boats and stuff, and they're dropped off someplace, and they come ashore, and they're living with a family member or somebody. They're down in the back there. They're working. They're being paid. They're here. And, I don't have to tell you that recently there were several people that were caught. I think it was 100 and something that were illegally on this island. We don't have police. We don't have the immigration like we used to going around and checking people when you see them on the street. If you look suspicious, you say, sorry, I hate to bother you, but I'd like to see your work permit. I'm from the immigration department.
Do you think
if happen no more?
If I may ask you, if that was to happen now, immigration or what's the new Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol personnel, so properly identified and visible staff with the authority, with the uniform, with the identification, if they were moving about the community, saying to people, okay, I like you to present an identification and ensure that you're here. How do you think the community would respond to that? Would they see that as, making sure the place is safe and doing security? Would they see an overreach and invasion of human rights? Would they say, oh, you're only profiling and targeting this people versus that people? How do you think we as a community would respond to that?
No, listen, I think you misunderstood what I'm saying.
No, I heard you, but what I'm saying is that if that was to happen today, all right, irrespective of where, how do you think we would respond to it? There is, I believe...
Here's what I'm going to say. You misunderstood what I'm saying. I'm not talking about just going into neighborhoods and stopping people and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's times when people come here.
Mm-hmm. I'm not hearing you, sir. Sorry.
No, I said there are times when people come to this island illegally.
Yes, sir. No, I understand. Yeah.
You see them. You go to a bar. If the police are patrolling those areas on a regular basis, generally the people that frequent that place regularly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you go in there, if you see somebody looking suspicious, in fact, the other night, two of my friends and I were sitting someplace, and something went on where this guy he wasn't definitely from Cayman, but the manager had to come out and stop him from cursing and using obscenities in the place and stuff like that. And he was drunk, and the guy finally got him out. What I'm saying is this, Dwayne, is this. Unless we have control, I'm talking about control of the numbers that come into this place. And when we got too many, it's difficult. We don't have immigration officers out there at stopping anybody no more. Back in the day when it was possible to do that, that's what they used to do. And if they found somebody that didn't have your ID, that you had your work permit thing on you and all this kind of stuff, then they could say, okay, well, I'm sorry, but you have to come with us. Today, we got people coming in here at night on doors and stuff like that. Like I said before, they're staying with their friends. They're working. They're making a living here. They're putting Caymanians out of jobs. We got too many places that are selling real estate now. We got too many people that are hairdressers. We got too many, anything you can think about. We look at those food carts or mobile food things, buses or whatever they call them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see nobody going down and inspecting them. If somebody gets sick, get deathly ill from some food they eat, who is responsible? Do these people have insurance? And they have a kind of insurance that if somebody gets sick from the food they eat off of these things? They come in here and everybody look at the number of mobile car washes you got now. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You go in Georgetown, I see 5 or 6 of them within 2-3 square miles. Nobody knows who they are. You see, and this is what is destroying Cayman. And when I see people, you remember now, Dwayne, you look at people like Kirky, like Corval, like some other people that I see walking the streets. Intelligent young men when they were going to school. I think Corval told me he had like 8 O-levels. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Look at him. Nobody cares. That's our problem in Cayman. We let these people, instead of pulling them in and this happening, all you got to, oh Lord Jesus, I pray for this island. Money, the love of money has ruined this island. And boy, before I leave now, I can tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
You remember last year before last, in the docks down in Honduras where this cruise ship came coming into the docks and they couldn't stop it and they crashed the new docks they had down there. Yesterday, I was watching news on BBC and they're in Venice. They had one of the MSC cruise ships come in there. And unless you've been on a ship like a lot of us did, we know when you work in the engine room and you hear that telegraph ring and you look down, you see that there's an emergency or something when they said full stern or something on that thing, and you got to open up that boiler and get that steam ready to pull that thing back. But what happens now, the ships are so big that they can't stop them even when they reverse the engines. The weight of that boat is continuing to go into that dock, and that's what happened in Venice yesterday. And they said no more big ships coming into the docks in Venice. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm afraid if PCS build docks and we got these big old ships coming in Cayman, the same thing's going to happen. All I can say is, Dwayne, is this. We got to start looking to God for guidance now, because everybody is talking about, oh, Lord Jesus, we've become decadent. This island has become decadent. Everything is about money and what we can do. Oh, help us, Jesus. Have a good day, my friend.
My friend, talk to you very soon. Appreciate it very much. With that, let's pause and take a short break. When you come back from Open Line, we invite you to be a part of our discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Father's Day is on Sunday, June 16th. Healthcare Pharmacy knows that some people don't believe in superheroes, but that's because they haven't met your dad. Healthcare Pharmacy knows what your dad means to you. And we salute all the dads of Cayman with a perfect collection of Father's Day cards by Hallmark and Shoebox. They also offer cologne sets, coffee mugs, picture frames, and much more. Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor and Governor's Square. Our Grand Harbor Pharmacy will be open from 10 to 6 on Father's Day. Make Father's Day super with Healthcare Pharmacy.
CUC advises customers in the Crystal Harbor area that they will experience short interruptions of no more than 5 minutes to their electrical service on Wednesday, June 5th between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Areas affected include Crystal Drive, Crichton Drive, from the junction with Crystal Drive West, Galway Quay, Cypress Point, and Cypress Point North, Sardinia Close, Dom Quay, Hoya Quay, and Costa Boda Close. Motorists are asked to drive with caution when in the Crystal Harbor area, as CUC will have a number of trucks and personnel in the area. CUC apologizes for these interruptions, which are necessary to facilitate required overhead infrastructure upgrades to provide our customers with safe, reliable, and efficient power. For more information on the outage and streets affected, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
Be sure to tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 a.m. for The Business Buzz with Sabrina Turner. Brought to you in part by insurance agents Michael Webster and Denise Brown from Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in life and property insurance. Don't take chances with your family's future.
Headlines. With the latest headlines. All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
There are plenty of reasons to be a Logic customer. There's lightning fast internet connectivity. There's the great overall customer experience. And now, you can improve your Wi-Fi connectivity with Logic Boost Wi-Fi for free. With Boost, you can extend your freedom to stream, game, and download seamlessly anywhere in your home, like your patio or your underground lair if you have one. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. It is open line. We invite you to share your thoughts with us. 949-8037, 949-6990. Likewise, you can call us toll free at 1-800-534-TALK. That's 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Just during the break, a couple of quick comments came through in relation to sort of some of the potential expected expenses, capital works, as it were, that should be considered going forward by future administrations that may or may not, as this person shared with us, be considered by this government, from the new courts building to the new prison, new mental health facility, the port, the potential, the new expanded airport as well, and is asking, population this size, with the amount of money that could be expended, is it sustainable? Is it something that we can afford? I don't know. Well, what are your thoughts? 949-8037, 949-6990. It is open line. And as I listened to the message the person left, and I was writing down, 200 million for a prison, a similar number for the courts, the dock, could be 200 million, could be $1 billion, as the person shared, the new airport. What do you think? I mean, infrastructure projects are important for us as we grow our population, as we provide not only employment and economic opportunities for our populace, as we raise additional revenues to provide, increasing services for our people. In the scheme of things, $1 million or $1 billion or 10 billion really isn't a lot when we look at the global marketplace of trillions and trillions of dollars in play. Now, is that how we should view it? Well, your thoughts. 949-8037 or 949-6990. It is open line, and we invite you to share your thoughts with us equally. The other comment that was sort of left on our message here by one of our listeners is this idea that with respect to the port and the petition for a referendum, if I did not misunderstand the person's sort of comment, it was a little bit garbled. That could be just the wind from when the person was calling, or it could have been my phone. It sounded as if the person is concerned that democracy may be potentially under threat, as his view was that if people sign a petition asking the government to do something, should it not then be acted on as quickly and as best? He alluded to the advert that some of you may have heard about, where presumably, I saw the link to it, I didn't click on it, but I was told about it, and individuals shared that the government seemingly is advertising overseas primarily to recruit someone to manage the port project. This person's sentiment was that, well, how can you advertise to hire someone for something that seemingly has not yet been approved or could potentially be challenged? Now, that may not be the case, but what is your view? 949-8037. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon to you again, Sterling Green.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Ladies have left. First, I wanted to say, apologize to Mr. Dexter Bodman. I called him Mr. Brown, but I guess he understands.
Yes, sir. It wasn't nothing.
Well, I agree with him, yes, Mr. Bodman, because he did bring up that one point about too small to be a melting pot. I agree with him. I agree with the thing of personal IDs. I've mentioned it from way over 20 years ago. It should be done. It can be mandated. It is so in other countries. I know I lived up in Canada and worked up there. You had to have your ID on your door. You had to be able to identify yourself. If a policeman stopped you, you had to be. I'm telling you this for a fact. That you had to. It was 52 years ago. I don't know if that has changed with how liberal that Canada has become. And no use denying that fact. There's a liberal outlook on everything there now. But that is something very important to us as a very small nation, country, territory, colony, but that we should be able to have, everyone should have a personal ID card on them. It's not too difficult to do. No one can explain to me or tell me why it can't be done. As regards all that we're talking about, the monies, there are a lot of big monies is flowing through this country, Sterling Green. So $500 million is no real big deal when you think about it in proper perspective. This idea of a global world and one world, and I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that philosophy. Not a bit. Not a bit. We are separate people, separate countries. We keep asking ourselves, how can we promote and secure the Caymanian cultural identity and so forth? And at the same thing, in the next breath, we say, this is the global world now. We live in one world, global economy. No, yes, that's fine. But the only reason why we say these things is that communications is much quicker now. That's all. Instead of people bringing in money in suitcases, as I watched them doing some 44 years ago and so on. It's brought in electronically now, and things are done electronically, and then it's in 1/100th of a second, whereas those things would take a couple of minutes years ago. The information to be sent out and to be digested by the receiving parties, so forth, and acted upon. With regards to us doing things, it would be great if we could officially make it, as I was saying, that we make a culture, the Caymanian generational culture, the predominant thing, and people should be able to, should abide or more or less go on. I know we can tell you, well, you have to do, but we can say this must be predominant, as this was what is recognized and so forth, and give me a big test on that to see. And I'm quite sure a lot of these hard-working, well-intentioned individuals on more permits here, working, slaving at little low-paying jobs, and are very, very polite and good to people, they would be quick to assimilate to that and understand. There are some who will say, no, my culture is so-and-so and all that, but this is an official thing. The problem with it is, as I said, we are a crown territory, colony, whatever you want to call it. We cannot make decisions that the British, Her Majesty's government in the United Kingdom might say might be discriminatory or might the human rights thing. We have to consider now the human rights issues. And, sadly, many of us do not agree, and I don't agree with some of the things that are there. It doesn't give the rights to the right people sometimes who should have those rights. Gives more rights to the people who are trampling on all rights. But this is what we are. This is what we said we wanted to remain a crown territory and so forth. So there's a price to pay for that. The same way I said, there's a price to pay for selling all the land and you turn it over to very, very wealthy people. Things will change, and it has changed as we see. And these people have a lot of money and so forth, and they will change things. And that's why I said we have to be realistic and accept what has happened and try to learn to live with it. But we have to learn to live within the parameters that Great Britain has provided to Her Majesty's government in the Cayman Islands here, because that's what it is. It's Her Majesty's government in the Cayman Islands, and then there's Her Majesty's government in the United Kingdom. So our elected representatives swear allegiance to Her Majesty, So Yeah, they swear allegiance to us now also, but that is secondary. That, as we all know. And we have to understand that certain things we would like, as Mr. Loxley was saying, we'd like to do this and get it official, because it's important to him. I keep hearing him talking about this. And to myself and others of our age, Mr. Ackerman and all that we hear, and he keeps saying back in the day. The trouble is those back in the day days are gone forever. It's in beautiful memories in our mind. I'm going to tell you something real quickly,
yes, sir.
Sterling Green. Did you look at the last Cayman Times?
No, I didn't.
Well, okay, there's a picture there in Mr. Alvin McLaughlin's. He's doing a presentation, or the museum is doing it, I believe,
yes, sir.
works. And there's a picture there of the old St. James House, or Pedro Castle, we all call it, taken from the southwest. I'll just edify people as to what, and let people know that picture was. It was a picture taken at my grandfather's funeral in 1925, one of William Eden's great-grandsons. He was also William Eden. In that one, my mother is standing second to the right, looking at the photograph, with her little brother, Arundel, or Del, as all the Caymanians will have known when I say that. Now, my mother's almost 15 then, born December 15, 1910. In that photograph at her father's funeral, and Miss Olivine Jackson, I'm sure, is a person standing on that tall column, one of the southwest column on the old house, because it shows you at minus the woodwork destroyed in the lightning fire of 1877. But that is the funeral of William Eden, the great-grandson, who was on the steps with his sister. His sister died in the lightning strike, and that's well known in Cayman's history now, I imagine, by quite a few people. I tell it all the while. But that's just to show you those things. How many people knew that?
Mm-hmm.
How many people knew that when they look at that photograph there? That's what it concerns. To me, it's very important. I have it, I know about it, and I tell people about that. That was at my grandfather's, and he was the person on the steps of his sister when they were struck by lightning. Mercifully, he survived, so forth, so forth. But it's important in our history, because that old building is very important, as we know, in our history. Just showing you something. These are the kind of things that people should know, and people tell, and I delight in telling people that. But it's just beautiful memories now on a part of our history and on our culture, those kinds of things. And there are many other pictures and stuff, not relating to the Edens or anything, that are part of people's culture and our history here, the great vessels built and so forth. And, all those things concerning our turtling. And there are a lot of things. We could speak for ends and ends for endless days on this to emphasize our culture, how important it is.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Loxley is right, Mr. Ackerman is right. We have to promote this, and there must be an official way to do it, that we don't impinge on the British government's ideas and what they set out for us. It's very difficult, as I said. It is a difficult road ahead to do this, and we must take care of the mentally ill. Yes, thank you very much. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for that.
Thank you too, sir. Thank you for sharing. As he reminds us, we just need to be more mindful and respectful for history. With that, though, let's pause and take a break. When we come back, more Talk Today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Headlines. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headlines. These are the biggest stories right now.
6 dead sharks have been found in local waters since February, despite warnings from the Department of Environment that killing the apex predator in Cayman is a criminal offense. In April, it was revealed that 4 sharks had been found dead between February and April of this year. Today, the DOE told its Facebook followers that 2 more were recovered in May. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. United States President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump have met the Queen on the first day of their state visit to the UK. The pair went to Buckingham Palace for a welcome ceremony and private lunch. Mr. and Mrs. Trump laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown warrior in Westminster Abbey and are due to attend a state banquet this evening. A helicopter crew searching for 8 climbers who went missing in the Indian Himalayas has spotted 5 bodies, Indian officials say. 4 Britons, 2 Americans, an Australian and an Indian made up the missing climbers who disappeared on India's second highest peak. Nanda Devi was believed to have been hit by multiple avalanches. And Boeing has warned airlines about potential flaws on the wings of some 737 aircrafts, including on the new generation 737 MAX that was grounded after 2 crashes. The company has identified possible faulty parts on more than 300 aircrafts worldwide. The parts, called wing slats, help reduce drag on takeoff and landing. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. It's open line. Why don't we go straight to our phones? Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling. How are you?
Oh, excellent. How about yourself?
I am fine, thank you.
All right. You sound like you would be.
Huh?
You sound like you are.
Yeah. Sterling, first of all, if we Caymanians do not get out there and teach the culture to the younger generation, how are they going to know? You remember Pirates Week? The children used to enter every year. Now you don't see no schools. Who took it out of the schools? I do not know. First of all, they don't teach them what's their national flower or national nothing. Some of these children will tell you a golden is the national bird. So, and if you go to the politicians about it, we don't like my Paris Week because it's not this. Well, then, why don't you all come together and give it a different name, which I don't think you'll be able to change the name at this time, because that's what brings people's hair, just that name. But look at how that has faded. That's faded worse than clothes. We can't even dye that to bring it back to color. Come on now, Sterling. So, yeah, that's where Harla has the floor. When I asked them to give it to me and let me run it, oh, I didn't have any common sense. So let's leave it there. But what happened? It gone down the rocks. Nobody come out to teach it. So, well, if nobody not teaching it, it's not in the schools, well, then they're not going to know. Because look at other countries. Look at those kind of dresses that they wear and all of that. That's still their tradition. And they don't make nobody come in there and say they can't wear those Dutch dresses and whatever it is. No, but we come in here, we make people do anything. Everybody sits around, and I'm going to tell it to you. You ain't going to do nothing about it. You cannot do nothing about it. And furthermore, the politicians don't even try to say, well, let us start somewhere where Jim Borden started. That was the oldest politician, and that started anything like that. Now that has gone down the drain. I don't know what to tell you guys, but I tell you what, I enjoy myself in Honduras. Oh, yes. Now, that is where the culture is. And let me say something now about the nakedness. Mm-hmm. It is not the costume that is naked. It's the bottom you wear with the costume. I make costume, and I advise my young people, wear a tight, a long tight. In Honduras, those girls cannot wear what I see on the street in Cayman. Next morning, they don't have a job. Or next morning, they can't go to college. Costumes is not about nakedness. At least not not on the street. You got pole dancing in one of the carnivals that coming down the road here. I don't know where that come from. I've never heard about that in the Caribbean parade, but this one.
So why is that then? If I could sort of interject, why is it then? You just shared something that I heard from a lot of people, not just Caymanians like yourself, but others who have been there for a long time and recently. That my interpretation of what they're sharing, that there's a level of acceptance. People are allowing certain things to be sort of to unfold in our communities that do not necessarily transpire in other places. Why is that? The pole dancing in the parade that you shared.
Sterling, let me tell you one thing. It ain't gonna higher my blood pressure because if I say anything, I'm blackmailed for the balance of my life. But like what I am saying, you got costumes, you got casino costume, you got pole dancing costume, you got costumes for parades. Parades nobody want to get out there. That's why I love to go to Honduras and do their carnival. You don't see them out there showing your skin, showing the stretch mark, showing the Lazarus sisters' sores, bumps, and some of everything. That is not costumes for the road. That is costumes for casino. Furthermore, Sterling, we have a law here. This is what I'm getting to. We have a law here. Nobody has enforced it to say, look, you guys cannot wear such a thing on the road. So what happened to the law? So it goes to show we don't care, neither the politicians care, because nobody would enforce the law. So we need to stop talking about the nakedness if we ain't going to do something about it.
But why is it then that the laws?
I gave you why.
No, the laws are not being enforced. The people are seemingly willing to. Okay, let me put it nicely. Push the boundaries. Is it that we just want to challenge it? Is it that we have changed so much that we believe, or is it that we?
Sterling, we do not enforce our laws. We only put them there to say it is there, and we do nothing about it. I can't answer all them questions, Sterling, but that is my opinion about it. Everybody talks about the nakedness, but they have a law, what they're doing about it. I am not going in and putting my foot into it.
What?
No, I do help out with Barabanu. And I don't compete no more. I make costumes for different people and try to get Barabanu going and help them to become a better parade. Sterling, that is all I do. I cannot get it because I will be black marked for the balance of my life. But what I'm saying, the laws is there. All these people that are talking, all these politicians, why don't they get out and say, look, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Find people that know the culture, find people that know the art. Pirates Week is actually fading. And I tell you, you can't even diet to bring that back. So what are you guys going to do about that? That is our cultural parade. Barabanu has become the star parade. If you think about it, look at the amount of people that participate at Barabanu and look at what's at Pirates Week. Because we try to tell them, wear costume, no T-shirt. We try to do this. We try to bring it, make it stay where it should be, costume. We try to tell them. We do tell them about the nakedness too, but I mean, what? It's not enforced, so they ain't going to listen to us, Sterling. So you guys need to say, look, Pirates Week is coming up. West Bay and West Wales, and all go down there and have a Zeta Bay with that float. Bordentown, North Side, East End. But East End, I must say that. East End people have what you call culture. And they're some of the only ones that you see keep that culture and that tradition during Pirates Week. Now, why are they doing it? Because they all work together. Nobody wants to go West Bay. There's only a few of us. We can't be doing it all the time. Everybody needs to come up. What happened to the schools? Who took it out of the schools? Don't tell me it wasn't in the school, because there was a picture came there with my daughter at West Bay Primary as an Arwax Indian. And you know how long ago that? She's 45 now. What happened to it? That's the question we need to ask. And every politician I speak to, I don't want to hear nothing but I don't believe in Pirates Week. So if your people if the politicians and you guys don't believe into it, I can't help you guys.
Well, if
I'm
that,
in another country, and I'm happy they're working down there.
right.
I'm getting ready
To your comment, if the politician, as you share, is saying that they're not supportive of Pirate Speak, are they, by the same token, supportive of Barbanu?
But I don't know that, and I really don't care. But Barbanu has people who got a head on them, know about costumes, and that's why our parade is much better. Because we work together, even though we have our little rub-in and our little scrummages, we try to work together to make Barbanu keep alive in Cayman. Because right now, it is a culture, it is not a heritage. Right? So we trying to keep that up. But like I say, everybody complains about the nakedness. Then why don't you guys do something? I ain't doing nothing about it. I ain't getting it. I'm going to make costumes like everybody else now and make my $2 to go pay whatever bills I can pay after that. But I'm sorry. You guys need to get up and say, politicians, put our culture in school that our children can know about it. Teach them how to make the floats. Teach them how to make costumes. Sterling, do you know that I asked them, please come, let me show you guys how to make costume. Hardly anyone come. You think I can force them? Oh, no. But we need to stop talking, do something. Because until you people do something for the culture and start to bring it back, it's not going to happen. And it got to be the elderly people take charge, go to their politicians. We have politicians that don't even come out Pirates Week. We have politicians that you don't even see. They don't even come to your camp. So if the politician is the politician, you got to start from, because they're the ones that got the money. And you can't tell me that, because in Honduras, right, that's who we work with, the Department of Tourism and the politicians. You go to Trinidad, you see Trinidadian politician, prime minister in their carnival costume. So what happened to us? That's the question you need to answer, not me, because I know, right? So until that, we are not going to get no culture unless we all get together and say this is it and this is it, and we do it ourselves. But people is coming in, they're doing it, so, and you're all sitting back and relax. So that's all I got to say.
All right.
Have a good day, Sterling.
Thank you, too. Thank you, too. With that, I believe we have the final break, Ms. Susan. And then, of course, the phone lines are open. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Be sure to tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 a.m. for The Business Buzz with Sabrina Turner. Brought to you in part by insurance agents Michael Webster and Denise Brown from Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in life and property insurance. Don't take chances with your family's future.
It's time to stop giving dads tools and ties for Father's Day. Dads want to relax just as much as you. Get the ultimate chillaxing beach kit for Father's Day at Savannah Pharmacy. Beach shorts, shirts, flip-flops, water shoes, goggles, towels, and sunblock. Let Dad kick back and relax this Father's Day. Gift baskets, including domino sets, coffee mugs, and so much more, are also available. Get all of your Father's Day purchases at Savannah Pharmacy and Countryside Shopping Village, or call 946-3336.
I love my daddy, yes sirree.
Keeping cool in Cayman is essential, but can be costly. Making small adjustments to your household can lead to big savings and help protect the environment. Keep your blinds, curtains, doors, and windows closed when it's hot outside. Using a fan instead of AC will use less power and can cost a mere third of air conditioning. And when using a fan, rotate it anti-clockwise, which will blow the cool air downward, saving even more energy and money. Visit the Ministry of Commerce, Planning, and Infrastructure Facebook page for more tips on alternatives to AC and be an energy advocate.
Make a splash at the Flowers 1 Mile Sea Swim on Saturday, June 15th. Be a part of the world's richest open water event with over $100,000 in cash and prizes to be won. 1 in 7 wins. Celebrating 27 years with Swim and Win. Random prizes including airline tickets to multiple European, Caribbean, and U.S. destinations, restaurant, water sport, and health and wellness certificates. No race day registration and limited to 1,000 swimmers. So register online today. Visit flowersseaswim.com for more information. All registration fees will be donated to the Special Olympics Cayman Islands. The 27th Annual Flowers 1 Mile Sea Swim on Saturday, June 15th. Proud sponsors include the Flowers Group, the Department of Tourism, Davenport Development, the Cayman Compass, Remax, Red Sail Sports, DART, and the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. It's open line 949-8037 or 949-6990. Let's go to our phones. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Is that me, Sterling?
Hi, how are you today?
I'm here. How are you?
Oh, man, blessed.
To God be the glory.
Amen.
We are blessed.
Amen. Good to hear from you.
As much as they say about our little island, boy, I tell you, I don't know what someone would do without the Cayman Islands.
Yes,
anyway, I'm just calling today, the gentleman that called in about the Cayman-style beef. I want to second what he say, because Sterling, I do not know where this come out from, but all of my days growing up, we couldn't wait for the meat to stiffen with our little dishpan to get our beef to go and cook. We didn't know nothing about this thing they call Cayman-style beef that is shredded beef. It is a special part of the cow that you can cook that way, but at the same time, our Cayman-style beef was when they kill the cow and you get your beef and you go and you put it on and you cook it that it could last you, when you cook the whole beef Christmas time and thing, it could last you up to 2 weeks after. I don't care what anyone want to say. It disgusts me. This thing that they're calling about Cayman-style beef, this shredded thing, I call it, because it's not nothing Cayman-style. Cayman-style beef is beef when you cook it, and you cook it down to the oil, to the nitty-gritty. And you can't, when you start eating it, you can't stop. And when you get it with your rice and peas and your potato salad and everything else, and you get enough of that, you get piece of old hard old bread, and you throw the balance of it between it. So where these people come from about this shredded thing, trust me, it just upsets me and it disgusts me, trust me, for a person that cooks.
But now, when we look at whether it's a beef or the fish, you're talking about Cayman-style fish, is it then at one, we're not sharing the recipes, we're not making the proper corrections when we see these things being cooked, a nice cooked dinner with green bell peppers, for instance, that's egregious.
Yeah.
What is it then?
Some of the things, a lot of our dishes, you have the people that come in and cook it their way. A lot of our dishes, some people put sweet pepper in turtle, some people put it in conchs, and all different ways they're cooking it and calling it Cayman dishes. I'm sorry, but I grew up in the time, I can say that my forefathers, my grandmother, my grandfather, he was one of the best cooks, one of the McLaughlins, one of the best cooks you could ever find. He was Alvin McLaughlin. Alvin had to call my grandfather uncle. And my grandfather and Alvin's father was two brothers, and they were two of the best cooks you could find in the Cayman Islands. And nobody cannot tell me where this thing that they call about Cayman-style beef, it's just lately, several years back, that came in about this shredded beef being Cayman-style beef. No, I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone want to say. It was get your beef, you'll be sitting waiting for the beef and have the pot ready to put it on. And then that was Cayman beef. I don't know these things about Cayman style fish. It was grouper. I remember when we used to go on the beach with dishpan sterling, waiting for the rolls from the groupers. When the fishermen them come in, we waiting for the head and the backbone. Some of it we used to salt because a lot of it them days was filleted and sold to the restaurants in West Bay. But what they kept for themselves, we used to have to, a lot of it was corned and salted. So the backbones, nothing, none of that never waste because everybody used to be waiting with their dishpan to get grouper head and backbones. And when you hear, when anybody put on that pot for that rundown, it was run down and run all around, you hear me? Because everything was in that pot, from the ground provisions and the coconut milk from scratch. We never knew nothing about no canned coconut milk. I still don't use it.
But is it then that, as I listen to you, one, the conveniences maybe the modern era provides, is it also the notion that a lot of the recipes, we're not learning from our parents or our grandparents, we're not teaching our children, so we don't know. Is that a big part of the challenge?
A lot of the children nowadays, they are lazy, extremely lazy. You see what they call it, electronics bring. They don't even want to wash one dish anymore. If there is a house that don't have a dishwasher, the children don't want to lift a finger. I question other friends and people in my neighborhood, and let me tell you, the children do not know how anything come. They don't care how it go. They go in to bathe. They don't realize that we pay. Most people pay for every drop of water they use. As they walk in, they flick on the air condition. They sprawl out, and when say the light bill come at the end of the month, they don't know how it pays, so they don't give a cahoot. That is the children nowadays. The parents cannot talk to some of them because they get so irate that they want to tell their parents off. They want to huff and they want to puff. But let me tell you my motto. I bring you, I'll take you.
But I hear you. But if as you shared, children nowadays are like that, then what part do we as parents and the adults play in that equation?
Sterling, the parents have to work so hard nowadays. A lot of them are out more than they are home. Because let me tell you, it's what you call survival mood in the Cayman Islands. Survival mood. I won't even say anything more about the government or about the government doing anything to help their poor people. But let me tell you, Caymanians right now are suffering. They, when I say suffering, it's with a big, big capital S and a big, big capital G at the end, that when you look at it, you make sure you see what a word is. And they are hurting, and it really breaks my heart to see what a lot of people are going through. I know some people, everywhere in the world you go, you have people that some don't want to work, but let me tell you, we are hard-working Caymanians. We are hard-working people. And the people, the children nowadays, the parents, like I say, some of them are not home long enough to discipline the children. children, they are lazy. This generation are extremely lazy. If you don't put your foot down and let them know who is the boss or who is the head of the house, they will walk in and walk out like they're staying in a hotel. Take it from me.
Well, I hear what you shared,
Anyway.
maybe. Hey, thank you very much, though. All right.
You are very welcome. At least I get that off today.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
bye-bye.
Tomorrow we pick you up on some more. Thank you very, very much. Hey, it's Monday, and it's only, the first part of the month, the third day into this 6th month. Already this year is drawing to a close. Got reminded this morning, say, man, you imagine elections only 2 years away, and already they've been campaigning heavily. I just love it. Hey, 949-8037 and 949-6990. Of course, the toll-free numbers there for you to call and share your thoughts with us each time. Come back tomorrow for Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Miss Susan is back. Did you know? Well, if you don't call, you wouldn't know, but she's here. And as we invite you to be a part of a discussion tomorrow, we want you to go about it today. Be productive. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. For some of us, we're just getting ready to start a shift. Others, we're hoping to come off. But in any event, what are we doing to make it better? Safer, more productive, and hopefully enjoyable. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Of the Cayman Islands, Radio Cayman.
We love our listeners.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman